Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. All right. I gotta check some things before we get into this. Hold on. All right. Let's see what we got here, buddy. Interesting. Hold on, guys. Welcome to the Real Hidden Truth. Oh, yeah. All right, I gotta share this live right quick. And I gotta check if we're live on every platform. Okay. We are live. All right, we are live on YouTube. Let me check out Twitch right quick, y'all. We should be live on Twitch. Let me see right quick. All right, we are live on Twitch. Let's check Facebook now. Yep. What am I doing? What are you doing? Yes, we are live on Facebook. All right, we're ready to go. Let's get this thing rolling. All right, let's do this. All right. Before we get started with this live stream, I would like to give all glory to my Lord, my Savior, and my God, Jesus Christ, the one and only. All right. But yeah, we're gonna jump straight into this. The Epstein file or Epstein file. Yeah, I don't know much about this guy, all right? But before we get started, I would like to let everybody know. I don't really know much about this dude, but that he was a billionaire and he used to be a pedo. That's all I know. And the only reason I found out about this dude, I've heard like when he did like was killed, like I've heard, but I never got into it like learning about the story or that. But when it came to like knowing about who he is, like the people he knew, I never knew nothing about that. I just heard that he was killed. That's all I knew from jail. But the only reason I knew about like the things he did, I'm not talking about the things that are coming out now, but I'm talking about like when he had got arrested was because I think I was doing something on my phone, and then that was back then when I had like Netflix. I was watching a movie, and then the movie was over, and then something about him, a show about him came up, and it started playing on its own. I just let it play, so I wasn't even paying it no mind, but I was hearing certain things. It was crazy, but yeah. And the main reason I'm reacting to these things is because, hey, the truth must come to light someday. Okay. Luke 8 verses 17. For nothing is hidden that will not be made public. Okay. But yeah, We're gonna do this, man. We're gonna jump straight into this, whatever this is. All right. I hope. I mean, I don't hope. I'm sure it can be on YouTube because I'm watching the video from YouTube, so it should be able to like show me everything other than disturbing things. Blur things out. I hope it does that. Cause sometimes I see some videos on YouTube, they allow those videos to be on YouTube, but if somebody else post them, boy, they put that thing down quick. But hey, we're gonna jump straight into this, man. But yeah, let's do this. Hold on. All right, let's go.
If you live, it might just.
By the way, this thing is 12 hours long, so I'm going to have 12 parts. All right, 12 parts, 1 hour each. I was shocked. It's 12 hours long. I'm sure it got everything I need to know just in this video alone. All right, but yeah.
Ask a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact,
Why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it.
I never
can
knew
tell you
like
that
what he did though.
With the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children
What
for
did he do
vaccines,
for a living?
I think you might want to ask their mothers. I think if you
See,
told them, if I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
Himself.
the
Oh,
devil
boy.
himself said, "I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life."
Do you think you're the devil himself?
Man,
No, but I do have a good mirror.
What's the other argument?
Let me give you.
What?
I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
if you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not.
wait, when was this filmed? Like, did he get caught like after this was filmed, or was it after he got caught?
So, in fact,
why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it, a heart.
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So, instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
You think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because I think
Advise the worst people in the world. If you advise bad people, that means they get their advice from you. That means you're bad. What the heck?
ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might.
Man, yo, that's like a gangster telling you, hey, what about all these backpacks and all these giveaway I did in the hood? What about those things, those good things I did, those turkeys I gave back to the hood? What about those things I did? Bro, that doesn't cover all the bad things you did. Like, bro. Oh boy.
want to ask their
Yo, this
mothers
is crazy.
who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people.
Yeah, God used you to do that, to help those people, but you still the devil's child. Like,
With their money.
If we walked into you're a mathematician. You're a mathematician. If we walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness,
they gonna take it,
and told them that the money was coming from a class 3 sexual predator.
Oh,
tier 1.
Was tier 1's the highest.
Wait, hold on. So wait, yo, I'm confused. Yo, was this video's filmed after? And he's admitting it. He said he's tier 1. Yo, this is crazy.
And worst?
No, I'm
the lowest.
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from.
So he's admitting like he's a criminal. Well, I'm assuming like he's free. Obviously, the way he's dressed, where he's at, that's definitely not a prison. Wait, so was this like interview like a secret? I mean, like, to be real with y'all, like even the names that's coming up in those files, whoever they are, like, bro, like people think people, yo, these type of people don't just go to jail. They own the prisons, they own the police. Like, bro, it doesn't matter if their names comes up. Why do you think he's not alive right now? Like, bro, like these powerful people, they doing the devil's deeds, okay? They doing the devil's work. They are on top of the world. They run it. They're not just gonna the police can't just go in their house and just put their handcuffs on them. Like, it's not how it works for these type of people, you know. That's why he's not here today, because he knew a lot of things he wasn't supposed to know, or he was supposed to know, but they never thought he would get caught up like he did. Like, they had to take him out. Don't think whatever that is coming out right now, those people that are in control or not. They're allowing it to come out because it's just a way to like keep people distracted. I'm just gonna break things down, like how dark and how sinister whatever they had going on is. Like, it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna put anybody in jail. It doesn't matter how mad we get, how much people protest. Like, it's not, bro, it's not gonna do nothing. Like, it's just a part of the plan. Are those videos, those files are being released, it's just part of the plan. I want people to notice.
Then what percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
If I think if you told them,
if
I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
He worked for him.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
Or should I say he's a puppet?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody knows smart? The devil's brilliant.
Oh boy. You gotta be a fool to think the devil is not smart. The devil is beyond that. And I'm not even trying to give him credit. This is a being that was created way before humans, and he watched us from the beginning of time till now. He's still watching. You talking about if he's smart? Come on now.
You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because,
hey, I wonder, like, the guy that's interviewing him, he knows a lot. This interview is long, and we only at the 2-hour mark right there. That thing is long. But yeah, a lot, like, bro, the government knows, like, they know the story. They know there is a spiritual realm, like, but they don't want you to believe that, bro. Like, once you believe that, you start seeking God for real, it's a wrap. People will start waking up, as we are seeing now. A lot of young people are waking up, and that's a good thing.
Because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
That's pride.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
Okay, good. Okay.
Mr. Epstein, how long?
Wait, what that said?
Okay, good. Okay.
The following video contains material that may be harmful and traumatizing to some audience. Yes, if you are traumatized when it comes to, like, you know, pedos things, if you've been, you know, sexually assaulted before, hey, you're being warned.
Mr. Epstein, how long have you been sexually attracted to underage minor females?
Objection, harassing, argumentative.
Are you kidding?
That's the interview
No,
in
I
court.
don't feel like I'm divulging any secrets here, right?
Move to strike.
No, that's the question.
I'd like to answer that question as well. I'll get all your other questions today. However, I have to follow my attorney's advice. They have told me that I must invoke my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment right to not answer those questions today or any questions relevant to this lawsuit.
What was the name of any of the underage minors that were the subject of the criminal charges to which you pled guilty?
I don't know.
So he pled guilty to some charges.
So tell me about those charges. What was the allegations of those charges?
Like, I really want to know, like, what he did for a living. Like obviously the guy said, like, he advised, like, a lot of bad people, like, when they talk about, like, the top of the food chain when it comes to, like, horrible people, he advised them, like, but bro, what do you do, like, so far as, like, work? I wonder how he got where he got, you feel me?
Form.
Solicitation of prostitution.
Okay.
Not underage prostitution, prostitution.
Were the victims or the prostitutes, as you would say, were they minors?
Form.
I pled guilty to solicitation of prostitution.
Okay, so tell me what those cases were about. What happened?
Form
I have
again.
no more. I can't tell you any more than that.
You don't know what you pled guilty to?
I just
I'm
told you.
going to object to form. That's asked and answered.
Do you know what you pled guilty to? The facts.
Solicitation of prostitution.
I understand that's the charge. What were the underlying facts?
Sorry.
What'd you do? Did you pull up in a car, talk to the person? Did they come over to your house? How'd you get them? Those kind of things. Tell the jury what were the underlying facts about the charge that you pled guilty to.
Form. Move to strike.
I don't know.
What is that?
You don't know what you pled guilty to.
Wait, that's the White
I
House?
pled guilty to solicitation of prostitution. Oh, not underage prostitution.
Why is he in the White House? Yo. Like I said, I don't know nothing about it. Like, this is great.
Prostitution.
And just so the jury understands, these 3 females that were the subject of the guilty pleas in state court were procured by your method of having underage minor females locate other underage minor females and bring them to your house. Isn't that correct?
Objection, argumentative, compound, harassing, assumes facts not in evidence.
You have to repeat.
I mean, those things I know, like, I know about these claims because it was in the show that I saw on Netflix. Like I said, I didn't fully watch the show. It was just playing in the background because I was doing something on my phone. But yeah, I've seen, like, parts, like, the people that he assaulted, like, they was speaking on the show and stuff like that. They were grown though. I mean, obviously at that time when it happened, they were kids,
It's a strike.
I have to repeat the question.
Okay. Are all people that were at the time you engaged in sexual activity with them were underage and were brought by other underage minor females? Is that true?
Same objections incorporated. As well as the motion to strike.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I don't even understand the question.
Isn't it true that you used underage minor females to bring other underage minor females to your house for sex?
Asked and answered.
That's crazy.
Way earlier on.
Oh, well, he doesn't understand the question, so I'm going through the progression.
Not a problem.
But it is asked and answered.
As your firm, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Jaffe, has been described by the U.S. Attorney as perpetrating one of the largest frauds in South Florida's history by crafting malicious cases of a sexual nature against people like me and others in order to fleece, using bogus schemes, in the U.S. Attorney's words, and investment schemes. Unfortunately, though, I'd like to answer every one of your questions if I'm able. My attorneys have advised me I must assert my 6th Amendment, 14th Amendment, and 5th Amendment rights under the U.S. Constitution. Therefore, at the moment, I cannot answer that question.
Okay, so Darren and I are sitting here. You can hear the echo. I'm pretending I'm talking to Darren. So, hi, Darren. So Sarah and Nadia, you guys having a good time? You can see I have a little sore on my face that I got from some black guy trying to kiss me. It's really disgusting. Oh, it's really, oh. Anyway, I have pictures up on the wall. I had to borrow the Scotch tape to get the pictures on the wall. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Is your money dirty money?
If you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
Bro, they played that before.
So, in fact,
why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it. But I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, children, people are going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself? Money?
So, in fact,
why is it not dirty money?
Man, we saw this, right?
Pakistan and India.
What are you, class 3 sexual predator?
Yeah.
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody knows
smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read
Over to your house, how'd you get them? Those kind of things. Tell the jury what were the underlying facts about the charge that you pled guilty to.
Form, move to strike.
I don't know. But I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio,
bro, are they gonna keep playing the same
Pakistan
stuff?
and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment right to not answer those questions today, or any questions relevant to this lawsuit.
They just gonna play the same thing over and over for 12 hours? That's crazy. Man, all right, let's get into some other things. All right. Epstein Files. Let's see what we got. That's 2 years. We need some recent stuff. It's a lot of crazy things that's been coming out. 1 year ago. Oh, we tracked every visitor to Epstein Island's water. Interesting. Man, we need to find some other things. 3 days. Documents sent to the FBI are horrifying. Hard to read. Let's see this one. What this about?
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems.
Today, we're reading one of the most disturbing documents in the Epstein Files. A lawyer representing a victim sent a formal letter laying out detailed allegations, claimed photograph evidence, and descriptions investigators were urged to verify. 2 really bad documents that I found in the Epstein Files.
Let's check
On August 8th, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein sat in a cell at Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan and signed an updated version of his will. And he left $50 million to his lawyer, $25 million to his accountant, $10 million to the children of a Norwegian diplomat, and $10 million to Ghislaine Maxwell, and $50 million to Caribbean islands, a Manhattan townhouse, a Paris apartment, a Palm Beach mansion, a New Mexico ranch, a 33-carat diamond ring, and 48 loose diamonds to his last girlfriend. And 2 days later, he was dead. And his cellmate, a man named Efren Reyes, had begged him not to do it. And Epstein told him not to worry. And the next day, Reyes was transferred out in a routine move. And the day after that, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead and alone. And then something interesting happened with the body. a jail supervisor told the FBI that staff took boxes and sheets and built what looked like a human body. And then they loaded it into a white van, one labeled as belonging to the medical examiner's office, and the media followed the van. But Epstein's actual body, that was loaded into a separate black vehicle, and it left, quote, unnoticed. And that's in the files. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's from an FBI interview memo dated August 16th, 2019, released by the United States Department of Justice on January 30th, 2026. And along with that, they also released over 3.5 million pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, along with 180,000 images and 2,000 videos. And it is, by volume, one of the largest single document releases in American history. And I need you to understand something before we really get into this. This video is not about whether or not you believe in conspiracy theories, okay? This is not about speculation. I'm not going to sit
This is about the truth, the real hidden truth.
here and tell you what I think happened. I'm going to just read what's in the files. I'm going to read quotes, okay? Directly from FBI interview memos, from emails between Epstein and some of the most powerful people on the planet, from a draft federal indictment that was written up, ready to go, and then just never filed. I'm going to show you what the United States government knew when they knew it and what they chose to do about it, or what not to do about it, you know? And Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche went on CNN and said it out loud.
In July, the Department of Justice said that we had reviewed the files, the quote Epstein files, and there was nothing in there that allowed us to prosecute anybody. And that's what's important for the American people, and the victims want to be made whole. And so we want that. The Attorney General wants that more than anything, but that doesn't mean we can just create evidence, or that we can just kind of come up with a case that isn't there.
And then he said, essentially, we've shown our work. The whole world can look at it now and tell us if we got it wrong. So that's what we're gonna do today. See what they got wrong. Cause this shit is insane. They're just gonna put a big trigger warning here. We're talking about a lot of very sensitive issues. So if you have any triggers to any of that or any sensitivity to that, please feel free to skip this video. But what we are talking about is extremely important because it is happening in our world, and I feel like we need to talk about it. And a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today have been glazed over, and I'm going to really get into them. So without further ado, let's get into this video.
Oh, sorry. I'm Oliver.
Let's go.
But before we talk about the names, and we're going to get to the names, okay? You need to understand what Jeffrey Epstein actually built. And if you want to get really in depth with who he was and everything, you can go to my other videos about him, especially my first one. I'm not going to go into like who he is and how he was built and all that kind of stuff. We're going to kind of glaze over that and get right into all the
I need to watch the one like who he is. I don't really know much about the dude.
New stuff. But there is a tendency to talk about this like it was a social scandal, like some rich creep knew some famous people and things just got out of hand, you know? And that framing lets everybody kind of off the hook. I think we're far past that now, but you know, that's kind of how it's been talked about in the past. But this wasn't a social circle. This was an operation. It had infrastructure, it had employees, it had logistics, it had recruitment pipelines. And the United States government had the details in its hands for almost 20 years and did absolutely nothing about them. And buried in the 3.5 million pages is a 56-page draft federal indictment prepared by prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida sometime in the mid-2000s. 60 counts. Not just against Epstein and 3 co-conspirators, described as personal assistants who were, quote, employed by Epstein. And their names are still redacted, even now in 2026. So 3.5 million pages released, and the government still won't tell you who these 3 people are. And the charges include trafficking of children, conspiracy, enticement of a minor, and traveling with intent to engage in illicit conduct. And all 4 defendants are described as having conspired to and I'm reading this exactly as it's written, persuade, induce, and entice individuals who had not attained the age of 18 years to engage in prostitution, unquote. And 19 girls are named, all under Jane Doe pseudonyms, and some who were 14 years old. But here is how this all worked. The co-conspirators would call the girls and arrange travel to Epstein's Palm Beach estate. And Epstein would use them and pay them. And in at least one instance, a girl was also made to perform acts with one of the unnamed co-defendants for Epstein's benefit. And the girls were paid several $100s per visit, and then they were encouraged to recruit their friends. Bring another girl, get another payment, a pyramid scheme for abuse. So it was around $200 for a visit, $200 for a recruit, and when one girl hinted at telling someone, the indictment says Epstein told her that, quote, if she reported to anyone what had occurred, bad things could happen to her, unquote. She was 14 years old, and the indictment was never filed. And a blank space where a grand jury foreperson should have signed. Just disgusting. And why? Why? And there's also a separate prosecution memo addressed directly to then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, and it recommended presenting a sealed indictment to a grand jury on May 15th, 2007, and arresting Epstein shortly after. And the memo describes Epstein as, direct quote, an extremely high flight risk and, from information we have received, a continued danger to the community based upon his continued enticement of underage girls, unquote. So they weren't describing something that happened once. They were telling their boss, this man is still doing it right now. We need to arrest him. But instead, Acosta cut a deal. And Epstein pleaded guilty to a state charge, not a federal, of soliciting prostitution from someone under 18. So not trafficking, not grape, not conspiracy, soliciting prostitution. As if a 14-year-old girl was a willing participant in a business transaction. Are you f***ing kidding me? So he got his 18 months, served 13 with work release, meaning he could leave jail during the day. And the Department of Justice later reviewed the deal and concluded Acosta had used their exact words, poor judgment, not professional misconduct, poor judgment. And Acosta went on to become Donald.
Wait, so he actually got locked up before? Interesting.
Trump's Secretary of Labor. Okay, we're connecting dots here. And he resigned in 2019 when all of this started coming back around. And inside the house among the FBI 302s is a 2007 interview with a household employee at the Palm Beach estate. And his name is redacted, but the agents wrote down everything. And his daily duties included fanning out $100 bills on a table next to Epstein's bed, placing a gun between the mattresses, cleaning up after what Epstein called massages, wiping down vibrators, throwing out tissues, laundering towels, and disposing of condoms. And he told agents that Epstein once had him buy flowers and deliver them to a student.
I'm Oliver.
I'm Sierra.
Body in a bathtub.
I wonder what he was.
You gotta stop calling him a he. He could be a she.
Student at Royal Palm Beach High School to commemorate her performance in a school play. And Epstein directed him to rent a car for the girl, described in FBI notes only as UF, an unidentified female, and he recalled another girl who looked very young. And when the FBI asked him point blank, do you believe some of the girls were under 18, the employee nodded. And the agents noted he was, quote, affirming that he believed some of the girls were under the age of 18, unquote. And the FBI also noted that Epstein enjoyed taking the girls out for ice cream at a local parlor, and that he let some of them even drive his cars. And the employees were even sent to take them shopping at local malls. So ice cream, car rides, shopping trips, cash on a nightstand, and a gun between the mattresses, and flowers delivered to a high school. Just textbook grooming, right? Just a predator operating in broad daylight with a full staff.
Yeah, that's
and the
crazy.
FBI had this interview in 2007, okay? 18 years before these files were released. And the Palm Beach Police Department identified 27 girls and women between the ages of 14 and 23 who went to that house for massage services. and they were typically paid $200 per visit, and they were, quote, encouraged to find other girls to bring with them, also for pay. And Ghislaine Maxwell did a video on her as well. Didn't just recruit, as we've talked about before. And according to the FBI's 302s, she ran the logistics of the entire operation. And she brought women in under the guise of professional massages or dance sessions, always the entry point. So you think you're getting a legitimate job. And then the massages become something else, as we know. And Maxwell and Epstein arranged domestic and international travel for the victims, and they provided logistical support for passports, and they used modeling agencies as fronts to recruit foreign nationals. And one FBI report describes Maxwell as, quote, dangerous figure who directed victims' clothing and social interactions to suit high-profile men. Can you imagine a woman looking at a child and dressing them up and presenting them to these predators? Like, what? I fucking hate this woman so much. I fucking hate this woman. I hate everybody involved.
Wasn't it like his wife?
I don't know. I'm going to get very mad throughout this whole video. Hope you know that. And the modeling agent, Jean-Luc Brunel, was identified in the FBI records as an intermedial who recruited young girls through modeling fronts. And Brunel was later arrested in France on charges of minors and trafficking minors for exploitation. And as we've said before, he was found dead in his French jail cell before trial, ruled a you-know-what, just like Epstein. Convenience. But the control didn't stop when the girls got out, because multiple survivors told the FBI that after leaving Epstein's orbit, they were contacted by people claiming to represent his interests, people who pressured them to cooperate with federal investigators. But before we get into who these girls were seeing or who they were forced to see, I want you to hear what this looked like for the girls inside this machine. And the first was a 2021 FBI interview. And a woman told agents she met Epstein when she was around 14. And she confided in him that her childhood had been, her word, shitty. And she told him she had been molested as a child. And Epstein told her he was sorry about that. And then he started having her come to his house for massages. And she described them as uncomfortable because both of them were undressed. And he touched her in ways she didn't want to be touched. And she tried to stop him. And the FBI notes say she, quote, felt degraded when she went to Epstein's home and felt taken advantage of. But she also said she felt happy because she had a bunch of money, unquote. She was 14 and she'd already been abused once. And she told a grown man about this abuse, and then he just took advantage of her vulnerability and then got paid. Like, what's a 14-year-old supposed to think? And the second was a woman who was approached outside of a New York dance studio at 17 years old. And she thought she was being offered dance-based fitness sessions for a wealthy client. And the sessions became massages, of course, and the massages became sexual encounters. And it just continued for years, and Epstein paid her, tried to control her career, and encouraged her to bring in her new friends. And both women described the same system, the same gradual escalation, the same isolation, the same financial control, the same machine. So that is in all what we have: emails, FBI interviews, a draft indictment that was ready to go, and employee testimony about the gun and the cash and the vibrators and the ice cream and the flowers sent to the high school. Just a mechanized system of abuse with employees, logistics, and recruitment pipeline that treated teenage girls like a renewable resource. And zero new prosecutions. Sorry, quick pause. I look different right now. I'm recording this on a different day. I might look different in different parts of this video just because more information came up and I researched a little more and wanted to add it to the video. So if you see me in a different outfit, that's why. But let's get back into it. So then we have the diary. And among the files is a 32-page journal kept by one of Epstein's victims. And she was 16 or 17 years old, and her attorney submitted it to the Department of Justice as evidence. And every page is stamped confidential and attorney's eyes only. And the entries describe a girl living under total control. Everything in her life, where she lived, where she went to school, what she did, was dictated by Epstein. But what the diary documents goes beyond control, and it documents something much, much worse. Because according to the diary, Epstein fathered a child with this girl around 2002. And she gave birth to a baby girl, and the baby was taken from her. And she describes the birth
I'm Oliver.
I'm Ciara.
Body in a bathtub.
Wonder who he was.
You gotta stop calling him a he. He could be a she.
Quote, a shot and those rod-like things had a hook and so much pain, Ghislaine said to push all the pain away. And she also writes, quote, I saw beautiful fingers, this tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. It reached its tiny arm and had a tiny foot. And then she was given 10 to 15 minutes to hold and feed her daughter before they took her. And she writes, quote, she is mine. I want her back, distraught. And a 20-week pregnancy scan is pasted into the diary. And next to it, she wrote, quote, she is gone and she won't be coming back, unquote. And in another entry, she writes about a second pregnancy, saying, quote, tomorrow is the halfway ultrasound for Jeffrey. This one stuck. After they took the first baby who survived and the early miscarriage, I think it was called, I no longer feel like a person, but a vessel, unquote. Like, this is like
survive. Bro. If only people know like how dark this world is. Bro.
Talk about Handmaid's Tale and the rich taking babies, like every conspiracy theory, the worst kinds we ever thought of are real. Like,
yeah, it's not conspiracy. Like back then, I remember in high school, people used to talk about the Illuminati. Like it was a conspiracy. Ain't none of that, bro. These are real things that is happening every day, that are happening as I am speaking these words to you. Babies, like little ones, are being hurt right now. Sacrifice are being made with little ones. Babies, you know?
According to this diary anyway, allegedly, you know, but I'm just going to go ahead and choose to believe the victims, like I always have, but I hope you do too, because I just wouldn't put it past them to take kids and sell them. We'll get to some even worse stuff that they could be doing. It's sickening. And she goes on to say, quote, will they take this one too? Who has the first one? Where did Ghislaine go? She is never around. I am not old or mature enough, or even in a place to have a baby that I would be responsible for. Will I ever be free? And in a separate entry, she describes a miscarriage, saying, quote, so it came out in the toilet and I didn't know what to do, so I just flushed the tiny little fetus. You have made me numb and I hate you for this. I hope I never see you again. I am not your personal incubator. Where is the baby and where is Ghislaine? And she also writes about why Epstein chose her specifically, saying, quote, why me? It makes no sense. Why my hair and eye color? She compares his obsession with creating what he called a superior gene pool to Nazi ideology, and she claims she wasn't the only one and that Epstein fathered children with several victims. And this tracks with earlier reporting, because in 2019, the New York Times revealed that Epstein had told scientists and associates about his ambition to seed the human race with his DNA by impregnating women at his vast New Mexico ranch. And at the time, it was unclear whether he'd actually done it. So we have a diary submitted as evidence by attorneys and included in the DOJ's own release that says he did, and that a teenage girl was impregnated, gave birth, and her baby was taken away and impregnated again, miscarried, and wrote about all of this in a journal that sat in government files while no one was prosecuted. And a separate email in the files from September 2011 addressed to Epstein congratulates him on welcoming a baby boy. But Epstein never publicly acknowledged having any children, because he would have to admit that he did horrendous things to children. But this machine didn't run in a vacuum. It existed inside a social ecosystem of the most powerful people in the world. People who visited, people who emailed, people who flew in on planes and stayed on the island and took the gifts and looked the other way. And now, thanks to these 3.5 million pages, we know exactly who they are and what they said. But before I get into them, I want to be clear about something for legal reasons. Being in these files does not automatically or legally mean someone committed a crime. Some of these people may genuinely not have known. Some of these people may have had legitimate professional relationships with Epstein. I'm not a court. I'm not a prosecutor. But some of these connections are so deep and so sustained and so damning that I didn't know stops being an explanation and starts being an insult to your intelligence. But I'm just saying, for legal reasons, these are all, I'm reading what's in them, all right? And then you can it's up for interpretation. I guess they're not guilty as of yet, So with that, let's start with Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump appears in the Epstein Files thousands of times, not hundreds, thousands. And he is one of the most frequently referenced individuals in this entire release. And now, does that mean he's guilty of something? Not necessarily, okay? And some of those references are from news clippings, some third-party mentions, but the substantive references, the ones that actually matter, paint a picture that is deeply uncomfortable, especially for a sitting president of the United States of America. So here's what's in the files. There's an FBI 302, an interview memo from 2021. And a victim tells the FBI that Ghislaine Maxwell, quote, presented her to Donald Trump at a party. And she described the introduction as being, quote, similar to a CV, unquote, like a resume. And she said Maxwell suggested to Trump that she was, quote, available. And the victim told the FBI that nothing happened and Trump did not act on the introduction. But the fact that Maxwell was allegedly presenting girls to him like items on a menu is a detail that sits with me kind of wrong, And there's an email in the files from 2011, an exchange between Epstein and Maxwell about Virginia Giuffre, who we've talked about on this channel many times when covering Jeffrey Epstein. And she is the most prominent Epstein survivor as of thus far, who was beginning to speak publicly before her untimely death. That is extremely suspicious. And in that email, the person identified as G-Max, Maxwell's known alias, writes, quote, I thought you said not to involve.
Man, why they keep putting this ads?
Body in a bathtub.
Wondering what he was.
You gotta stop calling him a he. He could be a she.
Donald. Involve him in what? What, Donald? Also, stupid name, now that I'm just thinking about it right now. Donald? Oh, sorry if your name's Donald. But involved in a conversation, in a legal strategy, in something else entirely, the email doesn't say. But the sentence exists, and it's in the files. And Epstein's house manager testified that Maxwell approached a girl at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's own property, for recruitment purposes. And the files also contain an FBI spreadsheet from August 2025 that compiled 12 or more unverified allegations about Trump, drawn from tips submitted to the Bureau. And these include allegations about so-called calendar girl auctions and a golf course trafficking ring. And I want to stress, these are unverified FBI tips. I'm not saying they're verified. Just got to cover my tracks. The FBI itself noted they were unverified, but they were compiled and they were in the files. And there's also a 1994 civil lawsuit from a Jane Doe alleging that Trump asked her at an Epstein party when she was 13 years old. And I did cover this in my last video. And the case was filed, withdrawn, refiled, and ultimately dropped before trial. And Trump has denied all allegations related to Epstein as a whole, as we know. But here's the thing. You can look at all of that and say, well, nothing was proven. And that is true. That's true. But the reason nothing was proven is that nobody tried to prove it. And that's kind of the whole point, you know? And that brings me to Bill Clinton, another president. What the f is wrong with this country? But he appears in the files in connection with at least 16 flights on Epstein's private plane. 16 that are documented, by the way. In a 2016 deposition, when Epstein was asked questions about Clinton, he invoked the Fifth Amendment to every single question, which is his right to not comment on it. And there's an email from October of 2009 where socialite Peggy Sigal writes that Bill Clinton and Jeff Bezos were there at a party hosted by Ghislaine Maxwell. And the files show an ongoing social relationship between the Clinton orbit and Epstein's world that persisted well beyond what was publicly acknowledged. And in January of 2026, the U.S. House of Representatives held Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt for failing to comply with subpoenas related to the Epstein investigation. And depositions were scheduled for late February 2026. And as of the time I am reading this, those depositions have not yet taken place. And Clinton has denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. You're lying, in my opinion, okay, in my opinion. And now the next name is a name that a lot of people outside the UK might not know, and that is Peter Mandelson. Probably saying that wrong. I don't really give a... He's a former Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, a former European Commissioner, one of the architects of Tony Blair's new Labour movement, and one of the most powerful political operatives in modern British history. But Peter appears in the Epstein Files more than 5,000 times.
What?
5,000.
I thought she was about to say 5
2003
times.
birthday book
Yeah.
lists Mandelson as, quote, my best pal. I hate that. This man I know is a monster, and I'm allowed to say that. The files contain evidence that Peter leaked UK tax plans to Epstein, so comforting government information shared with a convicted offender. And Peter's partner received £10,000 from Epstein to fund a osteopathy course. And there's a photo in the files released to the public of Peter posing in what has been described as underwear. And here's what happened after the files dropped. On February 1st, 2026, Peter resigned from the Labour Party. And on February 3rd, he resigned from the House of Lords. And on the same day, February 3rd, the Metropolitan Police in London launched an active criminal investigation into Peter in connection with the Epstein Files. And as of right now, Peter is the only person in the world facing a criminal investigation as a direct result of the 2026 document release. The only one. And it gets so much worse because we have Prince Andrew next. And several hundred mentions are in the files and 3 photographs that are going to haunt the British monarchy for a generation. And in the photos, which were released as part of the document dump, Andrew is seen kneeling on all fours over a woman lying on the floor. And the woman's face is redacted, but Andrew's is not, thankfully. And he's staring directly into the camera. And in one image, he appears to be touching her abdomen. And there are 3 photos in the sequence, all undated. And the emails are worse because in August of 2010, Epstein emails someone, likely Maxwell, and offers to introduce Andrew to a, quote, 26-year-old Russian, clever, beautiful, trustworthy. And in September of 2010, Andrew sends a message suggesting a dinner at Buckingham Palace with, quote, lots of privacy. And Epstein responds that they will, quote, need/have private time. But Virginia Giuffre's FBI 302 from 2013 describes how she was recruited from Mar-a-Lago.
Bro, these people are sending emails like text messages. Wait, so they didn't have no like text message? Nah, they did. They have, bro. It's not like these messages or these emails can't be found. Like, bro, it's just like text messages. Even if you delete them, they still can like get them back. So why not just use text messages? It's easier, you know? Yo, I'm imagining like you going to your emails and then typing all these things in. Yo, this is crazy, bro. Oh boy, only if people knew actually how dark the world really is. The leaders of this world, they sold the human race out just for power and money. Man.
Chicago, flown to London, and alleges with Andrew. And he was stripped of all royal titles and military affiliations in October of 2025. And the UK Prime Minister has publicly urged him to cooperate with investigators. And as of February 2026, he has not done so. And
Sorry.
I don't know if he ever will have to. I don't know. And then there's Howard Lutnick. He is the current United States Secretary of Commerce, and he was confirmed to that position in February 2025. And during his confirmation hearing, he told Congress that he had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein in 2005 after learning about the allegations. And he called the relationship a mistake and said it was over. But the files said otherwise. And emails.
Of course, bro. They all in on it. Why do you think like the government has secrets? Bro, there are things, if there are things like the government keeps a secret, if they come out, bro, everybody would run to Jesus. I'll tell you that right now. Like, that's the reality of it. They know about the spiritual realm. Like, they make deals with the devil. They make deals with the darkness, all right? With the kingdom of darkness. And they have to sacrifice to like keep that deal going, you know? They have to sacrifice, yes, humans, you know, little ones. It's crazy, man. This is happening as I am speaking these words.
From 2011 and 2012, years after Lutnick claims to have ended contact, show ongoing communication between Lutnick and Epstein. Drinks, visits, social plans, and in November of 2012, Lutnick's wife sent an email referencing a visit to Epstein's island on a, quote, 188-foot yacht. And in November 2015, a full decade after Lutnick said he cut ties, he invited Epstein to a Hillary Clinton fundraiser that Lutnick was hosting. Oh, the Clintons are back as well. Pieces of shit. So either the files are fabricated, and the DOJ has given no indication that they are, or the current Secretary of Commerce lied to Congress about the nature and duration of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. At this point, a tale as old as time. And he has not been asked to resign, by the way, and he has not been investigated, by the way, and he also hasn't been subpoenaed, by the way. And then there's Steve Bannon. Now, Steve Bannon's presence in the files is not primarily about sexual misconduct. It's about something almost more unsettling, and that is the sheer cynicism of the people who run your government. Because the files contain hundreds of text messages between Bannon and Epstein, many from the period when Bannon was serving as chief strategist to President Trump. And in those texts, Bannon says things about Trump that are illuminating, because he calls Trump, quote unquote, out of gas. And he writes, quote, stable genius bringing himself down. And he brags about manipulating Trump into policy decisions, saying, quote, dude, I just got him to pull the trigger on $400 billion in tariffs on China, unquote. And puppet on a strings. Oh my God. And he texts Epstein that he, quote, can't seem like I'm running Trump's nose in his own incompetence, unquote. And there's also nearly 2 hours of video, recorded video, of Bannon being interviewed by Epstein. And the context and content of the interview haven't been fully described in reporting, but the fact that it exists raises an obvious question. Why was Steve Bannon sitting for a 2-hour on-camera interview with Jeffrey Epstein? And Epstein also gave Bannon a $1,500 Hermes watch as a gift. Just all kinds of blackmail going on. That's what I'm going to assume. And then there's Larry Summers, former Secretary of the Treasury and former president of Harvard University. Yeah. What? And former board member of OpenAI. And one of the most influential economists of the last 30 years. And in May 2017, Summers emailed Epstein about Donald Trump and asked, quote, how guilty is Donald? And Epstein responded, your world does not understand how dumb he really is, unquote. This man runs the country. Okay. And in July of 2017, Summers wrote to Epstein, quote, I think your friend is mentally ill, unquote. And these are private conversations between two men about a sitting president. And so that alone is very notable. But the deeper issue is the relationship itself, because Summers maintained contact with Epstein well after his 2008 conviction, and well after it was publicly known what Epstein had done. And since the files were released, Summers has taken a leave of absence from Harvard and stepped down from the OpenAI board. But no investigation, no subpoenas, no arrest, nothing. And then we have Crown Princess Mette Merritt of Norway, who is one of the biggest royals in this list. And the files contain more than 1,000 mentions of Mette Merritt. I'm not saying that right, I don't care. More than 100 emails exchanged between her and Epstein between 2011 and 2014. And she called him, quote unquote, sweetheart and soft-hearted, and you tickle my brain. This was after the allegations already came out about him, by the way. And Epstein responded to her, calling her, quote, twisted with a winky face, not a typical royalty, unquote. And in one exchange, Epstein wrote, quote, Paris good for adultery, Scandis better wife material, unquote. And in another, he asked about, quote, 2 naked women carrying surfboard for my 15-year-old son's wallpaper, unquote. Ew. So the Crown Princess of Norway was in regular communication with a convicted offender who was making comments about naked women in the context of her 15-year-old son. And that communication continued for years. And the files also show that she stayed for 4 days at Epstein's Palm Beach estate in 2013. The same house where the FBI documented the messages, the vibrators, the $100 bills on the nightstands, etc. And the house the victims called the Villa. And she stayed there for 4 days. And since the files dropped, she has issued a public apology. Oh, that makes up for it. And there are growing calls in Norway for her to renounce her right to become queen. And the Norwegian public is not satisfied. And now I want to spend a moment on Kathy Rumler, because she's not a household name by any means, but
33 minutes. Perfect time to end it. All right. Man. Look. A lot of people may be shocked, but I am not shocked. One thing I wanted to say is, bro, you see, like, I'll compare, like, it's not a comparison. People would compare the evil here and the evil in Haiti, but there's no such thing. You can't compare. Like, it's all the same evil. The only difference is it's really good over here in America. When it comes to masking the evil, they're really good at it, you know, masking that evil. But in Haiti, like, it's out there, you know, evil, it's in the open, you know. But here it's dressed well. They dress evil well in this country. In America, evil is dressed well. It's in entertainment, it's in the news, it's everywhere. But they portray it as good. But now it's starting to come out. Like, when it comes to, like, the real dark stuff, it's starting to come out. And, like, hey, the truth always come to light, okay? The light will always shine on the dark side. And that's reality. Welcome to reality. But man, and I've heard the news about that Epstein dude, Epstein, and whoever he be with, them eating little ones. I'm gonna say little ones, but really I'm trying to say babies, you know, but they eat little ones. That don't shock me. Like bro, I know these things for a long time. Not like from him though, him doing it, but other people doing it. Like, it's a sacrifice. It's the most powerful sacrifice ever. Like, when it comes to, like, the kingdom of darkness, sacrificing little ones, because they the most innocent human being on the planet, little ones, you know. So that sacrifice is powerful. Look, kids are literally a gift from God, man. Can't even imagine like what they're going through right now, those who are in the wrong hands, you know? And this is happening every day. Every day. There is nothing we can do to stop it. The only thing we can do is pray, wait for the Lord to come back. He is on his way. Like I said, people like him, the only reason he's not living today is because, hey, he was in that cell. He got locked up. People like him don't get locked up. I'm surprised like he got locked up. That's why you don't see all these other people like Bill Clinton like not locked up. People like that don't get locked up, even if their name comes up like in the weirdest things. They're not gonna get locked up. Like when they come to the top of the chain, they're there. The powerful people in this world, like they're up there. A lot of people think like, oh man, why these people not locked up? Yeah, all right, keep waiting. You're gonna be waiting for eternity. But boy, but yeah, I'm gonna cut it short. Just think about it. When have you ever heard on the news a kid was found? Somebody who's been kidnapped has been found. When have you ever heard that on the news? And people and kids get kidnapped every day. Where do you think they're going? Like, you should be asking yourself those type of questions. Where do you think those people are going and those kids are going? And the news is every day, all day long. All day long. But not once you ever heard, man, this kid was found. Not once. Man, y'all need to stop opening your eyes. Seek God and he will open your eyes to the truth. What is really going on, you feel me? But yeah, that was it for this live, man. I'm gonna cut it short right here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet and hit that notification bell so y'all can stay notified when I go live. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna catch y'all in the next live. I am out. Peace.